Muy buenos días con todos, bienvenidos a esta maravillosa charla con Colfuturo y la Universidad Nacional de Singapur. Estamos muy felices que estén aquí conectados con nosotros y antes de comenzar quería comentarles un poquito del convenio que tenemos con esta institución. Para los que no saben, tenemos un convenio de una beca de $40,000 en el costo de la matrícula con esta institución, con el programa de Relaciones Internacionales. Para acceder a estos convenios, recuerden que tienen que postularse al programa de crédito beca. Nuestra convocatoria vuelve a abrir ahorita en enero y tenemos varias charlas informativas de esto, entonces definitivamente les invito a que se conecten a las charlas. Les pondré más información en los chats. Si tienen alguna pregunta, vayan poniéndolos en el chat y con mucho gusto al final tendremos una sección para contestar todas. Aquí tenemos a Louis Lowe, él es representante de la Universidad Nacional de Singapur. El webinar va a ser en inglés, entonces ahorita le voy a dar la palabra. Louis, feel free to begin your presentation and thank you so much for being with us here today.
Well, thank you very much, Bianca. So, good morning, I should say good morning, yes. Good morning, everyone. My name is Louis. I'm the head of recruitment here at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. It is 11 p.m. here in Singapore, but it's great to see every one of you here in today's session. And again, before I start the presentation, I'd like to thank Kuan for arranging this session. And let me first start off with sharing with you the QR code of our brochures. The brochures, you can either scan the QR code, or if not, then you can actually go onto our website or the bit.ly link that is featured here to download our brochure. Okay, just 5 more seconds and I will go ahead. Right, now, I represent the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. As the name connotes. The Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy is a school that only focuses on public policy and international affairs program, but we are part of the National University of Singapore. So I'm just going to share a little bit about the university, a little bit about the history, about the program, and then I'll dive right into the program, which is the Masters in International Affairs program, which is part of the agreement between the school as well as Kuan. Now, the Lee Kuan Yew School, as I mentioned earlier, is part of NUS, which is in short what we call the National University of Singapore. We are part of the 16 different faculties that is spread across 2 campuses. For those of you who are, a fan of ranking, you'll be pleased to know that NUS as a university is ranked relatively high, or actually very high in the global stage. We are ranked the first in Asia for several years now, and we are now the 11th ranking in the world. So unlike the MBA's program where they have Financial Times ranking specifically for MBAs, public policy program doesn't have a ranking. But QS, which is the official ranking for many universities, actually have a ranking for program specific, and in the subject, or rather subject specific. And in the subject of social policy and administration, the university is ranked 4th in the world. And in politics, the subject of politics, this university is ranked number 9th. So that's something for your information. A little bit history about the school, the Lee Kuan Yew School. So we established the program back in 1992. Of course, the university itself has been around for many, many years, right? But in 1992, the school, or rather the university, decided to launch the Masters in Public Policy program. And at that point of time, there's no Lee Kuan Yew School yet. We only established Lee Kuan Yew School officially as an autonomous school, part of National University of Singapore in 2004. Fast forward, the Masters in International Affairs program, which is MIA in short, is launched in 2017. And we are now at our 5th batch, coming to the 6th batch of students. And this is why we are here today recruiting for the MIA program. Obviously, Today, I'm only going to talk about the MIA program because that's part of the agreement with COFUTURO. But then if you are keen to explore the Masters in Public Policy or the one-year Masters in Public Administration, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be more than happy to share a little bit more with you about the other programs that we have. Now, just a slight update on 2022, which is this year. We actually launched a double degree program with Johns Hopkins. So it is actually a double degree in Masters in International Affairs and Johns Hopkins Masters in International Economics and Finance. So that's a double degree program. Again, I'm not going to share in detail about this particular program because that's not part of the agreement. But if you're interested in getting to know more about this program, please feel free to contact me after the webinar. Now, within the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, the school have identified 4 core research areas, interdisciplinary areas, right, that focus from public policy to international affairs. So these 4 core research centers, right? So when we are trying to establish our own kind of curriculum, we see that there are a lot of curriculum or rather case studies that is very, very much focused in the West, not so much in the East. And when the research talks about their perspective of the in Asia, it is sometimes not so accurately reflected. So, and that's the reason why these 4 different research centers, or rather core research areas, supported by these 4 core research centers, actually supports the case studies, generation of case studies that is somewhat focused in Asia, right? And these case studies that are generated in these 4 research centers will eventually be used in the classrooms itself. So the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy is also part of APSIA. So APSIA stands for the Association of Professional Schools in International Affairs. So as you can see, we are actually right on the bottom right. And we are only one of the few Asian schools that is part of this network. So it is important to mention that this network actually allows our students to actually have, double degree or even exchange with some of these partners that we have in this network, right? Which I'll share with you a little bit later. So throughout the student's journey, right, the school actually have a wide variety of activities that is available for students. Some of this, including talks and seminar, which is, I think it is important for me to point out because, Singapore being such a small country, we are able to attract very distinguished speakers that comes through our door and specifically come to the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy to deliver their speech. And many of these speech lectures are closed door. So you would imagine that, the kind of robust discussion that are being discussed in class during this distinguished speakers dialogue. And that's something that is the school is very fortunate to have. Now, the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, when we first established in 2004, the founding dean actually has the vision that the LKY school, in short, what we call the LKY school, cannot be a school focused only for Singaporeans. And that's the reason why when he actually established the school, it is written in our constitution that we are not going to have more than 20 to 25% of Singaporeans in a particular cohort. And if you compare us with many of the universities worldwide, you will also realize that majority of people in the class are actually, serving domestic needs, which is local. And then you have a smaller percentage of international students. So the LKY school is a bit different. And when we have diversity, right? We ensure diversity is spread across different countries and different regions, right? So you see here about 25% Singaporeans, then you have 20% China, 20% India, because they are two large economies, right? ASEAN stands for the Southeast Asian countries. So Southeast Asian countries will consist of big countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, and then we'll have another 15% from the rest of the world. To give you a glimpse of how a prospective classroom actually would look like, right? This is the actual representation of the entire AY 2022 cohort. If you remember from my first slide, I mentioned that I have the school has an MPP, MPA, MIA, as well as the PhD program. And every year, the school takes in not more than 180 students in a single year. So you can imagine that the school and the classroom will be like a melting pot of different cultures, different languages, people speaking different languages. So people coming in with different perspective, when they are discussing a case study. So in all, so far, the school have close to about 3,800 alumni from 20, and there are 20 different alumni chapters in the world. Specifically to Latin America, the school has 49 alumni, not many, but then we are, of course, trying to grow that number as well. And we have been seeing very recently, there are more and more students from the West who are very interested in Asia. And when they are interested in Asia, obviously, some will choose China, but then China is not it, doesn't represent the entire China, right? And of course, when they choose Singapore, it is really because Singapore, it is quite neutral in terms of in geopolitics. So we don't feed students with a particular perspective of our thinking. So our faculty is also very globalized as well. So to ensure that there is a multi-lens perspective every time when a discussion is in class. Closer to home, or rather Colombia, so there are currently about 6 Colombian students that have graduated from the school, different programs of the school. Actually, all of them are previously graduated in the Masters in Public Policy program. We so far haven't got students from Colombia that graduated or have undertaken the Masters in International Affairs program. And obviously, through this webinar today, we hope to change that. Now, so like I mentioned, there are 4 different English Masters programs in the Lee Kuan Yew School. But today, I'm only going to focus on the Masters in International Affairs program, which is a 2-year full-time program that is fully conducted in Singapore. Now, the Masters in International Affairs program, 2-year full-time program, is basically geared towards training prospective students in a successful career in the international affairs, such as foreign affairs analysts, journalists, or even someone in the government relations division in a private sector. Right, the curriculum is very much focuses on Asia's role in world affairs. So drawing from a range of different subjects that we really looked at. Within each of our programs, right, there's always this practice component, and I'll share with you a little bit later. And then students of the MIA program also have the opportunity to specialize in 6 different specializations that they can choose from the basket that we have here. So basically, the program consists of 6 core subjects where all the students will undertake, all the Masters in International Affairs students will undertake. And then at the later stage, on the second year, they basically choose to specialize. And as I mentioned earlier, there are 6 different specializations. I'm not going to read all of them one by one, but you'll be able to see this specializations here. And the MIA program is usually a relatively small class. So we are looking at about 30, 35, or sometimes about 40 students. But you'll be guaranteed that a lot of the specialization electives that the MIA student take will be together with the larger cohort of the Masters in Public Policy and the Masters in Public Administration. So you will have opportunity to interact and network with different students from different programs as well. This is an example of a academic calendar. So a very rough academic calendar that we see here, right? So basically in year one, basically you work on your core subjects. And in the second year, you go into specialization with electives that you can actually choose from a basket of different electives that is available at the school. And and on the second year, you basically work on 2 options, right? Your either a master's thesis or a capstone project or a white paper. So basically, there are 3 different options for you to choose from. Obviously, the master's thesis will be a 20, 30,000 word kind of thesis that is individually contributed, right? So this is actually individual work of your own. If you choose a capstone project, students will have to go on a 2 months internship. There is again a list of internship employees that you can choose from, or you can even find your own internship. Most of this internship are usually with multilateral organizations. So in Singapore and around the regions, we have World Bank, we have UNDP in the Philippines, or rather in Thailand. We have ADB, Asian Development Bank in the Philippines. We have AIIB in Singapore, which recently set up offices. So there are many internship opportunities available. So basically for students who chose the capstone project, what they need to do is to complete the 2 months internship, and then they work on a particular subject based on the capstone, or rather based on the internship that they have undertaken. So basically, in the duration of the capstone, right, they'll be given a particular topic, and then during the 2 months of capstone, they basically do research and work for the organization. And then they will take the rest of the year to complete their capstone project. And this one is a group project. The other one is actually a white paper. So white paper is somewhat like a scenario. So basically, the students are given a scenario and they actually write a thesis or based on that particular scenario that is given to them. Uniquely to the MIA program is this curriculum, sub-curriculum called Ambassador Circle. So again, it's exclusive to all MIA students. Every year, the school will bring in ambassadors, high commissioners that are based in Singapore from different countries. And the MIA students will have the opportunity to have a closed door session. And of course, closed door, off-record discussions, and they will talk about the current geopolitical concerns and things about maybe students are interested about their role as ambassador and their role as a diplomat. So that can be it. So what I'm trying to say is that there's no limit to the kind of discussion that are being discussed in that closed door event. So this is something that we have specifically curated only for our MIA students. Now, our MIA students would also have the opportunity to embark on a 1 semester exchange. So it's a 2-year program, and you can actually take 1 semester off that 2-year program to go on exchange. As you can see in the list here, the university have agreement with many universities all over the world, and this university are the result of us being in the EPSIA, as part of the EPSIA network, right? Now, maybe I'll share a little bit about the demographics. So this is AY 2021. So AY 2021, this year, they are in the second year of the program. So in 2021, we actually admitted 20 students. And there are about 30% Singaporeans and then 70% international from 7 different countries. You will see that the average years of work experience is relatively high, but then this is actually quite, sorry, it should be 2.5 years, not 22.5 years. I'm so sorry for the mistake. So in general, they are mostly fresh graduates. So this is the demographics of this year's intake, or rather students just started in August. So there are only 2 Singaporeans, but then the rest of them are actually international. So a little bit of flop side might be due to COVID. You know, you don't have so many Singaporeans, but then it's a good news that we actually have up to 20 students from 7 different countries. So average 1.5 years of work experience, and 64% of them are fresh graduates. Okay. So the application for the MIA program is relatively straightforward. So basically, you just need to, fill in the online application form. So there is an online application form that you need to fill in. And part of the application require you to submit official degree scroll that is translated into English if they are not in English, and your academic transcript. So just bear in mind that there are 2 documentations that we require. One is actually the degree scroll, and the other one is actually the transcript. Both are necessary, and both needs to be translated into English if it's not in English. Your CV, which is quite common, TOEFL and IELTS, or IELTS. So for candidates who have previously undertaken their master's or their undergraduate program fully conducted in English, then you are no longer required to submit a TOEFL or IELTS test. But you have not, if you have not undertaken a program that is fully taught in English before, then TOEFL or IELTS will be mandatory, which is compulsory. And the minimum score that we are looking at is 7.0 for IELTS, and 100, the score of 100 for TOEFL. GRE and GMAT is totally optional, so you don't have to submit if you don't have one, so that's fine. There's no admissions essays, but you will need to hand in a writing samples of not more than 2,000 words, and a personal statement of not more than 500 words. And you are required to submit 2 reference as part of your application as well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the funding. So I have taken the liberty to convert the tuition fee as well as the cost of living into US dollar just for ease of viewing. Otherwise, then, if you like the Singapore dollar equivalent, you can actually refer back to our website. This tuition fee that you see here is based on academic year 2022. And please note that the tuition fee is subject to yearly review. So it might be higher in 2023 or it might be lower. So we are not too sure yet, but this is roughly what you're actually looking at. So for a 2-year full-time Masters in International Affairs program, the tuition fee is about $60,400. And below that is actually the typical living expenses. So it's really a variance, right, from this amount to that amount. So I always tell students that it really depends on how you want to live your life. So if you want to live very, very comfortably, then you should look at the right side of the spectrum. But if you think that you can live frugal and not so big spender, okay with meal within the canteen, the food courts of the university, then I think you will be able to survive with about 1,500 US dollar every month, 1,300, 1,500 every month. And I will talk a little bit about the collaboration that we have with Kofotoro. So this year, we signed an agreement with Kofotoro to jointly award a graduate loan scholarship to up to 3 deserving candidates, successful candidate applying to the Masters in International Affairs program. Our scholarship, the school scholarship is on merit, so we don't award scholarship based on need. So we expect all successful scholar to have good academic and professional record if you are already working. So we also probably wanted to see whether leadership potential. So leadership potential can be translated by looking at the kind of extracurricular activities that the students have undertaken during their undergraduate years, if they are still relatively young. But if they have already been working, then that actually will come up in their reference, the 2 references I mentioned that is required. This is not a mandatory, but then we prefer candidates of this scholarship to at least have the desire to contribute back to their country. So, which means to say that we expect students to go back to their country to contribute after they graduate from the program. So basically, under this scholarship scheme, the LKY school will provide a bond-free scholarship of up to 40,000 Singapore dollars, which is about $28,469. And that's from our side, LKY school. There's no bond or repayment needed. And then on the Kofotoro side, there is the remaining fee of up to 50,000 US dollar will be covered if you're successful in applying to the scholarship loan offered by Kofotoro. And I think Bianca later will share a little bit more. Now, last but not least, we are now already open up for application, 1st of August, all the way to 15th of December. That's the last day of application. You can scan this QR code to, take a look at the dates. So I'm only sharing the MIA dates, but there are MPP dates if you're interested in MPP and the rest of the other program. But in general, MIA, the application deadline is 15th of December. For those who are required to sit for English tests and is not able to submit their English test by the 15th of December, you have to write to us and we may give you some extension of submission of English test score, but the online application has to be in by 15th of December. The other documentations like your referee, your English test score, if you need some time to translate your documentation, that can come in a little bit later, no problem. But your application, online application, has to reach us by 15th of December. And last but not least, my contact details, my email. So we are also available on WhatsApp messaging. So if you would like to send us questions via WhatsApp, you can do so. If you'd like to drop me an email, you can drop me an email as well. And that ends my presentation. Over to you, Bianca.
Thank you so much, Luis. That was wonderful. A todos los que están conectados, si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor no duden de ponerlas en el chat. Ahorita vamos a estar contestando. So, Louis, we didn't have any questions come in through the chat, but we did have a couple on social media. Can you please tell us what makes a good candidate? What do you expect from, let's see, the ideal candidate to join this program?
Yeah. So when we look at a ideal candidate, right, we actually split them into, or rather within the profile, we assess them based on a few criteria, right? The first is academic excellence. So obviously, this is one of them that we really looked at, academic excellence. The other one is actually career track records. So again, the candidates can be a fresh graduate, so they don't have that much career to begin with. But if they are applying as a working adult, then that is another part that we looked at. We look at what he or she has been working and what he or she is potential can be working in. And the next one we looked at is actually the essays that they have written. Obviously, because the program is fully conducted in English, we wanted to make sure that the candidates actually possess analytical skills. The way he or she writes are very clear in sharing his or her thoughts. And the last one is actually the referee. So we often look at the referees, the reference given by the referees to have some sense of how this candidate may cope in the program. So we have very specific questions that we ask in the referee report that requires the referees to speak specifically on academic capabilities, leadership potential, and any red flags. So basically any signs that the referee actually sees that this candidate may not be able to handle the rigor of the curriculum, for example.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then the other question we got through social media was, what is life like in Singapore for an international student? What can international students expect when they make this change in their academic journey?
Yeah. So if every one of you is familiar with the world map, Singapore is just a dot in the world map. So, but in terms of how the country has evolved since the independence 50 over years ago, we have come a long way. The multicultural aspect in our society is also something that is very beneficial to international students, because in Singapore, we don't take a single race as a given. So we actually, when you come to Singapore, it's like a melting pot of different cultures, right? We have the Chinese, we have the Malay, we have the Indians. So we have everyone's, right? And Singapore is like the gateway to Asia. So we are actually right smack in a hub, aviation hub, that actually gives you access to different part of Asia. Now, and again, because we don't have a single nationality that, or rather single race that is very dominant, you will have a great experience in Singapore. I'm very sure you will. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Bueno, muchísimas gracias por estar conectados con nosotros hoy. Recuerden que esta convocatoria con este convenio con la Universidad Nacional de Singapur es una oportunidad maravillosa. Como les comentamos, hay una beca de $40,000 en el valor de la matrícula. Para acceder a este convenio tienen que ser beneficiarios de Colfuturo. La convocatoria abre el 10 de enero del 2023, cerrará el 28 de febrero y los resultados estarán el 11 de mayo. Si es que quisieran conocer más del programa de crédito beca, tenemos charlas informativas el primer viernes de cada mes a las 8 de la mañana y el segundo sábado de cada mes a las 9 de la mañana. Esta información la pueden encontrar en colfuturo.org. Y muchísimas gracias. Asegúrense de conectarse a los otros webinars que tenemos. Pueden verlo en el calendario de eventos. Thank you so much, Louis. It
Thank
was
you. Thank you,
wonderful to
Bianca.
hear about the National University of Singapore. The webinar will disconnect automatically, so
Okay.
I will follow up with you via email. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you,
Bye.
Bianca. Thank you, everyone.